Depression's a big topic, and we're going to tackle that right now. The reality is our lives are affected by depression. Maybe it's a son or a daughter, a mom or a dad, a spouse, or a best friend. It could be a distant relative or even your next door neighbor. It could even be you. And the crazy thing about depression is it happens for so many different reasons. In a lot of ways, I feel completely and totally unqualified to even talk about this topic. However, in the year of 2000, I was 20 years old. Things in life were going perfect and seemed to be going very well. And yet, I wanted to sleep all the time. I just was discouraged, not very optimistic about life. And I kept going, but I went to see my doctor. I thought, something's wrong with me. My doctor sat down and he asked me a series of questions. And he says, well, I think you're fighting maybe some mild depression. And so he prescribed me a small dose of a medication called Wellbutrin, and I had to wrestle with that alone. I'd grown up in the church and kind of had this idea. I don't know that it was ever taught to me, but I had this idea that I should be able to do it on faith alone, or I don't need this or that. And so I think that even though I feel disqualified or unqualified to talk about this topic, there are a lot of principles that can be applied. And I just want to talk a little bit about depression. I know depression is a silent killer. We wake up in the morning and we can't escape it. We can't avoid it. We're at lunch with our friends and we've got that constant nag in our gut, and we attend our kids' sporting events and we still feel despair and discouragement. And so what do we do with it? A lot of us hide it. A lot of us fake it. We can't really even identify with why it's happening. And so maybe there's just things that have happened that can explain it. Maybe you've lost a job, or maybe you've lost a relationship. Maybe you can't even let people closest to you really know what's going on or happening in your life. And so what happens is we keep this facade. We keep pretending. The more we hide it, though, the deeper and the deeper we go into solitude, and the quieter that it gets. It seems like the world around us just tunes out. And so we try to stay busy. We try to keep our life as loud as we can, and people are moving, and you don't know what you need to do, and you have dreams, but you feel completely and totally out of reach, even getting reached to those dreams. And you keep trying, and boom, all of a sudden you hit a wall, and suddenly you're tired of everything, and the depression hits. And you can't move past it, and it happens every single day, every single week, week after week, month after month. And you want to be free. You want to be set free from it. You want to be done, and you want to be free. And so I think there's some things we can learn together when it comes to this topic of depression. And the first thing I want us to think about is this: if we really want to be free from depression, we've got to take the mask off. And I realize that we have lived in an area where we talk a lot about masks. Masks get talked about a lot. But here's what I'm saying when I talk about masks: to take them off. It means that we have to be honest about what's going on in our lives. We can be honest. It can be a multitude of things that lead to depression. It could be anxiety. It could be worry. You could be going through a divorce. Your finances could be dumping down on you. Maybe you feel a tremendous amount of guilt from something that's happened in the past. But we've got to be honest about it. We've got to be real about it. We've got to be able to share with people, especially those close to us, about the struggles that we're in the middle of. And so if we want to be free of depression, we've really got to take the mask off. We've got to be honest with what's going on in our lives. Also, if we want to be free of depression, we need to seek help. Whatever is going on in our lives, we should not go at it alone. Hear what I'm saying. As humans, we were designed not to do life by ourselves. We were designed to do life together. I believe God has built us and made us so that we could do life with one another, that we could live in relationship with other people. As a matter of fact, Ecclesiastes chapter 4 says this: two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. It says this: for if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. It goes on, it says, and though a man might prevail against one who is alone, two will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. See, when we try to do life alone and the pressure suddenly hits, it's so much easier to snap and break. And when we let people into our lives, We have the ability to be strong and not break. When we let people into our lives, we have the ability to be stronger than we could ever be by ourselves. And when we are struggling in our marriage, for example, and the pressure is building as we do life, and then all of a sudden the marriage will snap, but maybe you feel alone and have no place to go, and the pressure builds and the life snaps every time we're going to break. Every time. It is when we surround ourselves with other people that we find strength to push through whatever's going on. When we surround ourselves with other people who care about us, they will ask us those tough questions, like, really, how are you doing? Not just fine for the answer, but really, how are you doing? Really, what are you spending your time doing? What are you spending your time looking at on your phone? And how are you treating the people you love? How are you treating your spouse and your kids? And how are you parenting right now? And we call this accountability. And it's possible you need someone to look up to who is a little further on in the journey of life than you are. And maybe you can seek out someone who can help give you wisdom and help ask those tough questions, give you some insight that can help you on the path that you're on and direct you as you continue on your path. You could be at a place in life that you should maybe seek counseling. There's always a stigma that comes along with counseling, and there shouldn't be. Because if you've ever lived with any kind of physical, mental, or verbal, or even sexual abuse, these things can trigger depression out of nowhere. And I'd really encourage you, seek out some counseling. If you're feeling imbalanced, I would encourage you to talk to your medical doctor. For some people, there's a chemical in us, and it gets a little out of whack every once in a while. And I'm not very technical with this stuff, but we have these neurotransmitters that exist in our brain, and they can get clogged, they can get dirty, they can start malfunctioning, and there's a way to help. And with the help of professional primary care doctor, an antidepressant can be prescribed that helps clear things up. And I realize some people think medicine, especially when it comes to God and faith, medicine's not necessary, or maybe even some people claim that it's evil. But I don't believe that. I want to remind all of us that Jesus told this incredible story in the New Testament about a man he was a Samaritan, a good Samaritan who helped a man get healing from modern medicine. So Jesus isn't against modern medicine. He even told a parable about it. And so I would just encourage you, if you need help, to go get that help. Listen, many of us come to a point of depression. We will have nowhere to go, and we'll have nobody to turn to. For me, I'm a believer that this is a perfect opportunity to seek Jesus. When we feel absolutely alone, when we feel like we have nowhere to go, when we have nothing to accomplish, or we can't even come close to reaching for our goals, I'm a believer that it's our opportunity to seek Jesus. When we go through times of depression and anxiety and fear, when we struggle and we wrestle with our sadness and we try to fix it over and over and over ourselves. I've watched so many people, so many times, even in my own life. We try to fix things ourselves, but then we end up self-medicating, and we turn to that self-medication over and over and over. We try sleeping pills. We work harder. We work longer. We grow bitter and sarcastic so we can just laugh our way through life. We become consumed with the internet or social media or gaming. We self-medicate with pornography or alcohol and drugs and sex, and we hate feeling the way we do, so we pretty much try anything that we can do, anything at all, just to feel better, just to get through life, just to get through as best we can. And I believe in a really big God. Listen to this verse from Psalm 147. It says this: He heals the brokenhearted, and He binds up their wounds. God is a healer. That's who He is. And whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, or whether it's fear, whether you have thoughts of suicide, whether you've gone through a divorce, or whether you've lost the job, or your job is on the edge, whether you're lonely, and the list goes on and on and on and on. I want you to know that Jesus is a surgeon for our soul. And He wants to heal our wounds, and He wants to heal us and set us free. And I believe that Jesus has the capacity to heal you and to bring you a place to life, abundant life, full life, a life that you've never lived before. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, Isaiah says, because the Lord has anointed me. And this is what it says, to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to grant to those who mourn in Zion, to give them a beautiful headdress instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a faint spirit, that they may be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that they may be glorified. I love this verse, and one of the reasons I love this verse is because no matter what you're dealing with, no matter what you're going through, God wants to be able to make you an oak of righteousness, a beautiful headdress instead of the ashes that seem to surround us. And I've grown to appreciate these Bible verses over the past several years. It's the vision, it's the passion of Jesus. This is why Jesus left His comfortable place in heaven to be on earth, so that you and me, we might be the recipients of this healing and this comfort and this joy. And Jesus is intentionally very passionate about us. He came to earth to heal our broken hearts. He came to this earth to heal our pain. It's what He does. It's who He is. And so listen, if you're shackled today, if you're imprisoned, and you want to be set free, you want to break free, I believe Jesus is the key, and He can unlock it. He can set you free. But you've got to start somewhere. And so again, let's be honest. Let's be honest about what's going on in our life. Let's be real about what we're struggling with. And let's not be afraid to get help, to ask for help. So please take off the mask. Be real about what's going on in your life, especially with the people you love, and ask for some help.